Welcome to the third episode of the Planting Change podcast, recording at Las Bandurrias Food Forest and Homestead in the beautiful hills of Minas, Uruguay.
I'm Lorena.
And I'm Randy. Since 2021, we've planted thousands of trees to create our syntropic food forest, bridging ancient wisdom and modern science to rebuild ecosystems and communities. Regenerative agriculture isn't just for farms, it's for backyard gardens, public spaces, and even balconies. Want to be part of the new agricultural revolution? Let's dig in. All right, so we're back now with the third episode. In the last episode, we introduced ourselves a little bit more and talked about what we've been up to here a bit. In the first episode, we talked a little bit of an intro into what is food forestry. This time around, we're going to focus a little bit more on the food part of the food forest and how it plays into all the planning. And we talked a little bit in the last episode about how all of this is sort of new to us. In the last few years, we've been investigating it a lot, but it was something that we sort of fell into and have learned a lot about. I mean, we've done lots of research and all of that, but lots of things just happening in the act. And same here with podcasting. This is actually take 2 of this episode. Little technical difficulties, my fault. But anyway, if there's anyone out there who knows anything about audio editing and all that, if you have any tips on how to make us sound even better, please feel free to send them along. Anyway, let's get into it. So what did you do today, Lorena? You planted a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Today, after watering, planted a lot of fruits and native plantines, baby plants.
Yeah, seedlings.
Mostly trees.
Saplings.
Yeah, I'm in the process of filling some holes in the beds with other species. Not only trees, I also got some of the herbaceous part, the oreja de conejo.
Lamb's ear in English.
Yeah, that one, which is really tasty.
Here they call it oreja de conejo, which is rabbit's ear. And in Brazil?
Peixinho da horta, which is like gardens fish from the garden.
Yeah, so let's take a second to talk about this. This is important because I had never tried it before. It's a plant that I know. It's an ornamental plant, but it's got these leaves that are sort of like velvety. They're very soft. It's like lamb's wool or rabbit hair. And anyway, I didn't know that if you bread and fry the leaves, it's got to taste like fresh fish.
It has a meaty inside to it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I've tried to look up some recipes online too, just out of curiosity. And I searched in English and Spanish, and I found next to nothing other than a few mentions of how this is something that they do in Brazil. And when I searched for Brazilian results in Portuguese, I found, of course, all sorts of things. But I really was blown away when I tried it, thanks to you and Renata. It really, it smells like fried fish when you're frying it. It tastes like fried fish. It's not, exact, but man, it's really good. And it actually has like almost 5% protein, I think. So. And
it's a very resilient plant. Like here in Uruguay, here in Minas, where we have extreme weather, like where it's really, really hot or really, really cold. It resists. I have some in places where I don't even water anymore. It's been just rain water. And it's there, strong. Today, for example, I took some babies, some seedlings from this bush of lamb's ear, and transplanted it to the food forest down on the other side. And yeah, it's super resilient, and it tastes really good. It tastes amazing. We just recently did. I don't know if Renata brought you some.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, fresh, crunchy, delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. So we're in summer down here. We're in January. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2026. But it's hot, and we haven't had any rain. It's supposed to rain tomorrow night, hopefully. Please. But yeah, it's very dry. We've got irrigation set up in lots of areas, but not all. And we're so thankful for every plant that survives where there's not irrigation. We're thankful for all the plants, of course. But this one plant is pretty rustic. These are things you want to look for when you're planting your food forest, or, any kind of garden, really. Some kind of pioneer plant that can help you start to recover the soil if it's depleted. And it's going to have a better chance of staying alive.
And it's even better when you can actually eat this plant. And actually use it not only to create your system there, but also you can eat it, you can harvest. It has many functions. That's great. We found that with lamb's ear and other trees too, that we've learned to eat other parts of it. Sometimes we think about the fruit that we want to harvest, but there are the leaves, the other parts of the plant that we can eat that we just need to learn and explore.
And what's great about that too is so many of those other parts of the plant, you're never going to see them in a supermarket.
No.
Maybe in a farmer's market, but lots of these sort of byproducts last even less time than the fruit on the shelf. Some of the things that I've discovered also thanks to you and Renata, just things that you put in the salads, the petals from the sunflowers. I had never tried that before, obviously the seeds, but the petals from the sunflower are so good and they're beautiful in the salad.
The rucola too.
Yeah, arugula.
Yeah, the rucola flowers are so like the spiciness.
Or rocket for our friends in the UK.
Oh my God, the spiciness of the flower is amazing.
Yeah, the sweet potato leaves also really good in the salad, but also great in soups, great sautéed, all sorts of other parts of plants. And what is it here? PANC or
PANC is, I mean, it's in Brazil. Yeah, Brazil in our area is like the reference in all these agroecological things. They started with the PANC, which is plantas alimentícias não convencionais, non-conventional edible plants.
Yeah.
And there's a book about it. I actually visited the guy's homestead in the Amazon where he wrote this book about PANC. And it's literally thousands and thousands of plants all around us that are native to where we live, that are edible and they're super nutritious. And we don't know. And we are usually planting and harvesting these plants that are usually from other places in the world.
Yeah.
Like lettuce, for example, which is like from North America, like Canada, is something that grows there. But we plant it here to eat and we forget about the things that are around us.
Yeah.
So yeah, PANC is that. And a lot of the times you can find plants that have multifunction. And I think being able to eat it is a good function in a food forest.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the lambs here too, like a lot of things, goes to flower. The flowers are very beautiful also. It's a really, really pretty plant. It's just a wonderful bonus thing to have. We're like 17 kilometers outside of the city, 15, 17 kilometers outside of the city, and we're kind of far from the coast. I don't know, we're like an hour and 20 minutes away from the coast. And actually one of the cultural shocks here for me was, for as much coastline as Uruguay has, there's really not as much of a culture of eating fish. If you're on the coast, there is, but really we're not exactly in the middle of the country, but like I said, we're about an hour from the coast. So I'm really accustomed to the markets in the United States where I was born, where the fish counter is right next to the meat counter inside the supermarket. But here, it's a big meat country, and the fish, you can find fish in the freezer, but otherwise you have to go into town on certain days when like the truck from the fishermen and fisherwomen comes in on Thursdays or Sundays. But this is another way to sort of have that flavor of fried fish when fish is not around.
Yeah.
So, and obviously taking it from your garden is free, so that's nice.
It is really nice. I mean, in that plant is perfect to be under the trees there. I just planted some baby trees that are maybe, 50 centimeters high. The idea is to fill the spaces in between with these other plants that make the little system there. So
yeah,
I'm actually, it's the summer now, but we also have to think about the winter. If you're planting the baby trees, they're gonna have to survive. In a few months, it's gonna start getting cold, and they gotta be ready.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what food forestry is about, is companion planting and thinking about succession, which is as the trees advance, what we need to do for like pruning and how other plants are advancing alongside these trees. We talked a little bit in the first episode about service trees or support trees, which can be any number of species. Eucalyptus is a very common one, but we've definitely experimented with some other species. There's one here that we're big fans of, Rama negra. It's called in Spanish, Argentine senna in English. Senna corimbosa is the scientific name. It's leguminous, so it fixes nitrogen. We've talked about it before. It has beautiful flowers. It's a really wonderful tree, relatively fast growth, but we like the service trees because we can prune them aggressively and leave all those trimmings right there on the floor to compost and provide nutrients for the other plants around them. So we're managing sunlight, we're managing a couple different things, but basically we want to plant our trees as soon as possible. And in the meantime, when they're still small, we've got lots of sunlight for other things to grow in between. And as those things grow in between, they're providing some shade to the soil, they're possibly providing nutrients to the soil, or we can plant things that serve a similar purpose, that maybe like a tall grass or some other kind of herbaceous plant that is very pruning friendly, so that we can continue to harvest and leave more organic material on the forest floor, so to speak, to compost. And all of this is to support the fruit trees or the nuts or the firewood or whatever the case may be, what we want, what you ultimately want after X number of years. just thinking more and more about that. But these service trees are planted sort of in between food trees. But also in those first few years, you can think a lot about having a garden in those same garden beds as the trees, but also planting in certain areas. You can have the tree lines further apart. And in between those tree lines, you can sort of have a more permanent garden space. And that's kind of what has been going on in zone 3 here. There's the tree lines are spaced out a little bit further apart, about 6 meters apart. And in between those, there's been quite a bit of work done between us and machines and trying out with pigs, which was a fun experiment. We'll talk about that in a second. But right now, what's planted down there, Lorena?
What's planted down there is, like you said, the first trees that are going to start the system. We have eucalyptus, we have the senna, the rama negra, anacahuita, which is another native plant from here as well.
I forget what it is in English, but I know one of the common names is sister oak or she oak or something, like, even though it's not related to an oak tree at all, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a native tree here.
It's got the pink peppercorns on it.
Yeah, it has little pink peppers. Those are very rustic trees because we are planting in a compacted soil that needs a lot of organic material. There's a lot of clay. It's very clayey. So we started out with those trees. Those are a little bit big now. It's been 2 years since we started working down there. Now we're at a point where I'm managing, which is like taking out the grass and the things that grew that I don't want there, that are kind of taking over, and adding more species. So the goal is to be able to go down there and harvest fruits from the tree lines, the tree beds, and the vegetables from in between these tree beds. We can have a permanent garden space where we can harvest all types of vegetables. We can also make a rotation with animals. Right now, we're at a point where we can increase and add other species. So that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Somebody gave us a bag full of these arasas. They just got a milk bag and they put soil inside and threw the whole fruit in there with all these trees. They're like little guavas. They're definitely from the guava family, but they're really small. There are yellow ones and there are red ones.
It's a wonderful native fruit. I don't know if it has a different name in English.
Very tasty. It's like a mini guava.
I was super surprised. It's one of my favorite.
You can put it all in your mouth and it pops it in your mouth and it's delicious. Anyway, so there were about 50 of yellow and 50 of red. And so I spread them out and started planting in between these trees, these eucalyptus, this anacahuita. And then in between those, I want a bit more species, so I don't have to, again, next year, manage again and take out this grass, because the grass is growing because there's not a lot of organic material. We need more to cover the mulch, to cover the soil, because we don't want an exposed soil. And so I'm trying to cover the soil with plants, right? with more life. And so in between those trees, I'm putting these species that are going to be in the lower herbaceous level of the forest. Won't get so high, and it would make a nice little cover there, and we can harvest. I put some medicinal ones like consuelda, which is also that's a native plant here.
Consuelda is comfrey.
Comfrey.
In English, yeah.
Yeah. It's native from here or no?
I don't think so. I don't remember where it's from. There's another plant called consuelda here that in English I have no idea. And that might be native.
And this one works really well if you have a muscle pain or something. Like if you twist an ankle, you mash all the leaves together into a little paste with water or with an oil or something. If you have another kind of oil, it would be great. And then you make it like a paste and you put it on top wherever it hurts. Dude, I did it once and it really worked. Yeah, comfrey is fantastic. It's really great for burns and just any kind of cut or skin irritation too. And it's a wonderful plant. Again, beautiful flowers. It's like a super fertilizer also. Mm-hmm. And it's been super rustic. I had 2 big garden beds when I first started, and they were big, too big, and really not unmanageable, but hard to manage. And in the last year and a half, I broke them up into much smaller garden beds, and I had some comfrey plants in there. Well, in breaking up the beds, the comfrey little pieces of the roots kind of became distributed throughout the beds, and it spread like wildfire. And if I could pick one plant to do that, it would be comfrey. So I'm super glad. I didn't realize it would be so happy with just little pieces of roots. Yeah. But I can come in every few weeks and take it down to nothing and it'll come back. Beautiful flowers. It's a wonderful soil conditioner. I don't know what it is, what you'd call it in English and Spanish.
it's a purin, but you cut a bunch of the leaves and you let them ferment in water for like a week or 10 days. And then you dilute that water and put it on your plants. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful fertilizer. Super, super, super rich in all kinds of nutrients. And like I said, great soil conditioner.
Yeah, they have big leaves. So when you cut them and when you trim them, it's a nice cover. So they grow into like a little bush. They really grow pretty big. And you can literally, like you said, cut the whole thing and
it comes back.
Comes right back.
And it doesn't need a whole lot of water.
No.
Chickens eat the leaves. It's good for them.
Yeah, just today I went to one of the bushes with the shovel and took a big block, and I think it came with like maybe 30 plants, and I put them there in between the lamb's ear. And I had some other transparente, which is another tree here that also grows really fast.
No idea what it's called in English.
Yeah, transparent. See-through plant. It grows really... You want to find the trees and the plants that grow really fast and easy. You know, this transparente, this tree... in the next episode, we will find the name in English and we'll send it to you. It grows the main trunk of the tree, and then the other branches come out in the middle, outside, right? And you can literally just rip off one of the little branches and stick it in the ground, and it turns into another tree. It's so easy. It's just like you just pop it off and stick it in. So I had one tree, it grew. I took out like 5 little branches. Now I have 6 trees. Now, that's the idea, to be able to have produce these trees in an easy way, where you can come in with a machete or a scissor and cut, and boom, 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 and one day you're done. You planted 50 trees in an hour,
Yeah, it's really awesome. And in between the trees, so we plant very densely. You usually got about a tree every meter, no? Like maybe more?
Maybe less.
Or maybe less than a meter, I would say.
Yeah.
So a meter is about a yard for our friends in the 2 countries in the world that don't use the metric system. But we have like a service tree, and then a meter ahead, we've got maybe a fruit tree, and then maybe another service tree. I mean, depending on what it is, if it's like a big tree, a pecan tree, let's say, that needs more space. I mean, we'll still put in lots of service trees around it, but ultimately the service trees, just to repeat, they have a certain life cycle that we're not gonna need them at a certain point. Basically, they're there to provide shade and organic material for the other trees that we want, ultimately. So we plant them densely and we prune them sort of aggressively. It's great to pick trees that can be coppiced, which is to say, like cut down basically to nothing, and they'll still sprout back up. Those are the trees that you really want as service trees. And so basically after X number of years, when the fruit trees or nut trees or whatever it is that you are ultimately wanting to harvest from, when they've become mature and taking up lots more space and need more sunlight, you can take those service trees out of service. So thinking ahead is sort of critical. I don't want to say critical, but it helps a lot in trying to plan out roughly how long your trees are going to take to come to fruition, to bear fruit, and what you can do in between those trees in the meantime. And even on a smaller scale, maybe you have some experience companion planting in the garden, and something like a radish. Radishes you can plant very early on in between your lettuces or many other kinds of plants. And why you would do that is because radishes have a very, very rapid cycle. They're ready in like 35 days, whereas lettuce can take like 60 or more. But basically, they take up space instead of weeds. They provide some shade to the soil once they start to grow. And also they help open up and break up the soil a bit, which helps your lettuce or whatever send its roots down a little bit farther. And then after 35 days, your lettuces are getting bigger and you can take those radishes out. And so you're getting sort of more bang for your buck. You're making each square meter count a little bit more, and you're harvesting a little bit more, but also helping the soil along the way. So on sort of a micro scale comparison, that's one example of companion planting. And we're trying to do something like that, but on that scale, but also on a bigger scale with the trees. So let's paint a little picture of what the garden beds or the food forest beds sort of look like, and how we put them together. We're generally making these food forest beds, like, it depends where it is, but sometimes like 100 meters long, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes it depends. But whatever the length might be, we basically mark the space with a string and 2 sticks to sort of keep it straight. And then using the shovel as sort of a measuring stick, we just go like 1 shovel to each side, and then we start digging ditches sort of parallel to on both sides of this string, leaving enough width that we want. How much would you say?
I would say like 80 centimeters.
Yeah. So it's about 80 centimeters, more or less, the width of the bed. And we just make these parallel ditches using the shovel, like one shovel wide, one shovel deep, taking all that soil out from these ditches and putting it on top of the space in the middle to create this sort of raised bed. And this works really great for us because in lots of these areas, we do have this clay-rich soil, which can be compacted in many places. And what happens with clay is it can swell up to like 20 times its size when it's wet. And so when it dries out, it also compacts very, very much. And so we can find these really deep, dry cracks in the soil in summertime. And in winter, it can be totally flooded and like splashing beneath your feet when you're stepping on it.
We need a canoe to go to the garden.
Yeah. And so this works really well for us. So we make the garden bed then, or the food forest bed, by piling all the soil up, and immediately we cover it with some kind of organic materials, either cut grass or straw or leaves, branches, whatever. We never, ever, ever want uncovered soil.
That's very important.
It dries out quickly. The microorganisms that live there that are essential to the success of your garden dry up, die. They aren't there. And you lose lots. You lose lots of moisture, lots of structure, lots of things that have been developing over time. And so basically, if you want to cover it immediately, and then we go in and we plant, like I said, pretty densely.
You can put some compost before you cover it too.
Yes, absolutely. Generally, there's some compost. You can also put some kind of minerals. There's calcium carbonate, which is like just a simple calcium supplement, but it helps depending on what your soil needs.
Yeah.
So it's something that helps here, but we are always using natural fertilizers. We've got our chickens here that provide a nice fertilizer that's can be pretty strong. You got to be a little careful with it. Chickens' digestion is a little poor, so they only absorb like 40 to 60% of the nutrients in their feed. And so their poop can be sort of hot, they call it. It can burn the plants if you don't let it age a little bit and or dilute it well with water or let it ferment a bit too. But, oh, what a strong smell.
Yeah, oh my God, that's so...
It's better to let it dry and then use it. But any kind of organic material to cover the soil.
We have a lot of cows around, so for us, the manure, if we collect some dry manure, leave them in a bag for a couple weeks. Or what I do a lot, collect a bag full of cow manure and I leave it in a corner for like a few months. And I come back and I open and it's just like heaven. Perfect.
Yeah.
Just water a little bit. Sometimes I throw a little bit of water in the bag, but still, it's a good compost. Well, now we have almost harvesting compost that we've been composting a lot more recently, but the cow poop definitely is a free ingredient here. Very common, very abundant around us.
Yeah. Well, Lorena and Renata started a composting business recently. We talked about it in episode 2, Germinas. If you haven't listened, go listen right after this episode. So, what kind of food are we planting? This year, I've planted potatoes mostly. I've got some, I want to say, 5 different kinds of potatoes from the national, I always forget how to translate it. The National Network of Heirloom and Native Seeds, something like that. The Red Nacional de Semillas Nativas y Criollas. So it's a group that we're a part of that is focused a lot on food sovereignty and just sharing. I mean, sharing seeds, sharing plants. And so we've got 5 varieties of potatoes, some beautiful different colored potatoes, red, blue, white, purple, and learned a lot about how potatoes actually reproduce. It's an interesting cycle, really. I've only planted potatoes from other potatoes before, so sometimes you can cut them into pieces, and wherever you see like these little, the eyes of the potato, they call it, when it starts sprouting, you can put those in the soil, and like I said, cut it in a few pieces, maybe, depending on the size. But you're making a clone of that potato, and it puts up a seed, like a little red seed above ground, and inside of that little red, I don't want to call it a berry, but it looks like a little tomato. Inside of that, there's little seeds, and if you plant those, you're not making a clone. You're taking the biological offspring that may have crossed with another variety, but you plant those little seeds, and the next year you get these little tiny potatoes. And you plant those the next year, and it's like a 4 or 5 year cycle to finally get like a potato. I didn't realize it took that long, but it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to trying this out and seeing if I can make my own variety of potato.
Oh, yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, because they cross with whatever is around you. So with the potato that grew in your garden is completely different than your neighbor. So it's
Right.
unique to this space.
Yeah. And I think it might be able to cross with other members of the nightshade family, which, I mean, I have tomatoes planted over there too. I planted bell peppers, but I've never had luck with bell peppers here.
Me neither.
Eggplant either.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they're totally in the market and totally available.
I did eggplant this year. It's growing. I will see what happens.
I hope so. But I've had great luck with tomatoes. This is my first time. No, it's my second time planting potatoes. They're looking really beautiful, if I may say so myself. But I saw a little bit of an infestation the other day of vaquisha or bicho moro. I have no idea what it's called in English, but thankfully it's easily controlled with potassium soap, which is actually good for the plant also because it's potassium. And I've got some potassium soap that I made here a few years ago. It lasts so long. Like, you don't need very much. I think I bought 6 kilos of beef fat for 200 pesos, so like $5. And I rendered it down, took out the chicharrones, que rico, and then made potassium soap with potassium hydroxide, blended it up, and it's like a wonderful paste. And with a tablespoon and a liter or two of water, a quart or two of water mixed up, you spray it right on. It's a great pesticide for lots of softer shelled insects, and it's not harmful to bees or ladybugs or butterflies or anything like that, and it's beneficial for the plant. So great natural pesticide for some pests, not all. I wish it worked for humans.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Not all pests.
But other than potatoes, like I said, I've got some tomatoes. The lettuce is all done. Selga, chard. There's chard. Chard is another pioneer plant, I want to say. Really, really rustic. It doesn't need a whole lot of help at all, and it just keeps reseeding itself. The arugula, like you said, is another one. What else do I have over there? Tomorrow, I'm really hoping to get sweet potatoes planted. That's my plan, because I'm late, and you have so many slips, sweet potato slips, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow night, so I watered pretty heavily. Those beds that have been prepared for a while now, waiting for me, and I have to admit, not covered. I feel terrible. I just started cutting grass yesterday, and I got to gather it up to cover the beds, but it's just, sometimes there's not enough time for everything. But every time I see it, I feel terrible, because here we are preaching about never leaving soil uncovered, and I'm guilty of it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone.
No, it's okay. We'll let you go this time. No, but I mean, you planted the potatoes. I didn't plant many of the potatoes because I was more focused on the sweet potatoes. So yeah, we have now, I think there's 7 varieties of sweet potatoes that I got from this network of heirloom seeds of Uruguay. And yeah, I've just recently finished planting all the species, because at least I want to be able to have more than I received to be able to plant again next year. But yeah, it's a process, because
there's orange sweet potatoes, white sweet potatoes. There's these beautiful purple sweet potatoes.
Oh yeah, that one's beautiful. That's the one I planted the most. The normal kinds that you see here and there, but they're just different tastes, different. They look like a normal sweet potato. You know, if you look one and the other, they look the same, but there's like different tastes, different textures. So
absolutely. No, and there's more and more research that shows pigments are beneficial for us. Natural colors that exist in plants, the greens, the chlorophylls, the carotenes. So the purple sweet potatoes, we went to an event in Minas, in our nearest city, like 20 minutes from here, in September for Agroecology Day. And basically everyone brought something to throw in the pot for a soup. And there were these purple sweet potatoes, and by the time everything was finished cooking, the broth was just this really, really beautiful, rich, red, purple color, and everyone thought it was beets, but it was these sweet potatoes. I'd never seen something that with that rich of a color that wasn't beets.
And it tasted delicious too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I can't wait to make some purple rice and other purple things with that.
Yeah, I mean, you eat with your eyes first. So I went to cooking school, and that was one of the first things they said, and repeated it a lot. And it's absolutely true. We eat with our eyes first. If it doesn't look appetizing, I don't know. It affects it, unfortunately. Vanity with food, I suppose. But it's nice to have different colors. And where I was going, talking about the pigments, is that they do provide, like they always say about carrots being good for your eyes and things like that. It's because of the beta carotenes and certain vitamins and stuff. So, and gosh, there's so many tangents I can always go down. But carrots weren't orange originally. I mean, it's a result of breeding, selective breeding by the Dutch to get orange carrots, not like genetically modifying, but selective breeding. And it's a process that takes a long, long time, but it's kind of cool. It's really cool. If you look at old bananas and corn, the predecessor of corn is like this super small little thing that almost all of the food that we eat today is thanks to a lot of selective breeding, people selecting the best seeds and saving the best seeds and looking for certain qualities they wanted in the plants and their foods. And it's something that's, for me, is an honor to sort of continue. And that's part of why I'm excited about this little project with the potatoes, particularly.
Oh yeah. No, and sweet potatoes and potatoes in general, they're a very important food in our diet. I feel like it's saved people, saved whole villages. You know, it's the type of food that can serve as a base for all types of meals. So I think it's really important to be able to conserve different strains, I guess you would call them, of potatoes, and also start, like you said, creating your own seed from your own environment, diversifying and making it more quantities, more qualities that makes them stronger. Because if we just clone and clone and clone, we're not going to have that diversity, and things like plagues or other bugs can come and definitely ruin this entire species of plant.
Yeah, so we've lost a tremendous amount, not us personally, but us globally. We've lost a huge amount of diversity with seeds, biodiversity in general. And obviously, there's animal species that are going extinct and things like that, but also just the number of varieties of fruits and vegetables. You usually find one kind of banana in the supermarket or one type of potato, or if you're lucky, 2 or 3 or 4 if you're really lucky. But
and one company that holds that one seed.
Yeah. And, there's more than 2,000 types of potatoes, I think, and like 3,000 types of corn, and the ability to continue making more. And so by continuing that tradition of keeping seeds, sharing seeds, which is how things have been done since a long time ago, that's what I would call traditional agriculture. We're helping create more diversity, more resilience. The plants are advancing based on their environment as well. And so there's a seed bank somewhere in the southwestern United States. It's like a Native American tribe that started saving and sharing their corn seeds because they're in a very, very, very dry desert. And they've got a variety of corn. I forget if it's blue or black, but I think it's a blue corn that, it's incredible that it grows so strong in really, really poor conditions. And they kind of saw this as a responsibility to share these seeds because we might be needing them if we're in a period of global warming or whatever you want to call it. This might be something more resistant than some of the other varieties out there. So I'm a fan of seeds. I love seeds. We're going to definitely do an episode about how fascinating seeds are.
Yeah, and that's the whole deal with that network that we keep saying all the time, of seeds here in Uruguay, is that there's a group of producers all over the country, and the idea is to be able to share these seeds and reproduce them in our own farms, in our own spaces, and share them between everybody else who produces, and be able to continue this diversity. And they usually have funding for if you want to focus on one specific species. When I had the interest of the sweet potatoes, I sent a message to one of the people who are in the network, and in literally weeks I already had the guy coming over explaining to us potato bags being sent from all over the country to here. And so that's crazy. And now I have that responsibility to be able to reproduce this and be able to send it again to other people next year, and that's the whole idea. And I think it's a beautiful way to share and to continue creating this resilient agriculture that survives, right? And it's strong, because if we lose that one potato strain from that one company, then there's no more potatoes. So the idea is to be able to hold the seed in our hands.
The seed network is actually very decentralized by design. It's very much about local groups. It's a bottom-up nonprofit organization, and I would say it's non-hierarchical and all that sort of good stuff. And on the local group level, we're part of a group called Milpa here in Minas that I believe was started in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But for those not familiar, Milpa, or Tres Hermanas, Three Sisters, is a really old companion planting technique, basically planting corn along with some kind of bean and some kind of squash. So the corn helps break up the soil. It's got a really strong taproot that goes straight down, opens up compacted soil, grows tall. Your beans are going to be growing up the stalk of the corn while also producing nitrogen. They're also leguminous. And your squash, your pumpkin, your gourd is going to be providing a lot of shade and growing outward and helping cover the soil, protecting it from weather extremes, helping prevent erosion if there's heavy rains. And so you're getting three different harvests from the same area and helping the soil along the way. And obviously after the harvest, we come in and we prune everything, all the stalks of the corn, that all goes right on top of the soil. And the amount of organic material that is produced for each seed is really incredible. I mean, I think sunflowers and corn are two of the sort of highest producing as far as plants go that you harvest once from. We have this other elephant grass and other fast growing grasses that we can come in and cut every couple of weeks. And those two you really want as part of your food forest system or any kind of garden, really, to help build this microclimate. It's a great windbreak. We're big fans of elephant grass.
It's important to think like
Sugarcane, bamboo, sorry. Any kind of plant like that. Now I'm done.
No, I was just thinking like, because sometimes for us, it's just so easy to think about, oh, let's plant grass, let's plant this thing. And it makes so much sense, because to explain that to the conventional way of thinking of agriculture or of planting is that you want to plant something that gives you something back. Like you want to work and you want to receive that fruit, If I ask a lot of people to plant a grass in their garden, people that are not inside this permaculture, regenerative agriculture bubble, they would say, why? What does grass give me? Like I don't eat it. It's just like there, I have to cut it. So it's just like the first thing that changes your filter when you look at planting is that we need plants that create organic material for the plants that we actually want to harvest. So yes, I want to be able to go there and in the bed where right now are eucalyptus and ramonegras and other trees that don't really give me any fruit. But I want to be able to go there and eat a peach. But in order for that peach to survive and be healthy, I need to have those other plants that don't really give me any fruit, but they do give me the organic material. And like Randy said, the roots open up compacted soil. It opens up the way for the other trees to follow that are not as strong. So we need to think of things that we plant to feed the trees that we want. We're planting a system. It's not just one plant that's always going to give us fruit. So that's always the first thing that we have to change in our filter. I feel like we're always connected with planting in that way. I think since we're kids, we're going to plant and we're going to harvest.
Yeah. Well, and the idea, too, of a winter garden, like I never had an experience with winter gardening. I'd gardened a bit as a kid, on a much smaller scale. I was lucky enough to have an experience both in middle school and high school at my schools, like working in the garden once a week, planting things as part of the curriculum. It was really, really neat, even though it was in history class in middle school and in English class in high school. Mrs. Lux and Mr. Vale, thank you. But anyway, I'd also gardened a bit at home, but I never planted anything in winter. I never really thought about it, but there's so many things that do well in winter. For us here, one of the critical things I would say for us has been fava beans. That's one of the things we really like to plant, in like a forage turnip, I guess is how you would translate it. It's a big giant turnip that grows really strong. It's more for like fodder for animals. It's not for human consumption. It's not like we can't eat it, but it's really fibrous and tough, and there's other varieties that are better for that. But this works great in winter, very resistant. Flowers, grows tall too. Big bulb underground. I've got one that sprouted up on its own outside of my house, where it's this really rocky soil that I put around the house to make sort of a firmer foundation. And I took out a bunch of the clay soil that was there to make my garden beds, and then refilled with a stronger backfill. I built a dome house using this technique called super adobe, which we're going to talk about in episode 4, bioconstruction. But it's a very heavy house. It's a super heavy house. So I had to put some more rocky material in there to help be firmer. Anyway, so winter gardening. I lived in New Hampshire briefly for like 2 years. I saw kale growing out of the snow. It was really crazy to see something green coming out of the snow. And even the tulip bulbs and stuff in spring, like coming out really, really, really cold temperatures. Just, it's amazing how many plants are super, super resilient. But it's important to try and think about what you can do, even if you aren't thinking about harvesting for yourself, what kind of cover crops or green compost you can plant. So something that you want to plant there that you're just going to, come springtime, cut down and leave there as green compost. Oats have been another great tool for us. Like I said, kale is another great winter crop, but it's another, I don't want to say it's a necessary step, but if you are going to leave like your garden beds fallow, if you're not going to do anything with them during winter, definitely make sure everything's covered with plenty of organic material. And obviously you're still going to have your trees growing there or taking their dormancy as well if they're deciduous trees. If they're evergreens, obviously they're going to stay green.
I did that this winter. The last winter, we did a new cantero, a new bed. We had a camping here, like the group of the network again. They have an yearly camping, like 3 days event, and it was here. And in that event, we together with the other 80 people that came.
Man, it was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people.
It went great. It really did.
It was awesome, yeah.
If I may say so myself.
A lot of tents out in the field. And we did a bed. It's 80 meters long. It's actually the bed that I planted the trees today. So I was thinking out about that day as I was planting. We did the bed and we covered it right away the first day. And
it rained.
It rained
that day.
A lot that day.
We cut the workday short.
It was great.
Put up some quick tarps.
I love when it rains when we just finished planting. It's like, oh my God, a miracle. And then I waited maybe a month before I started planting anything. I was going to Brazil for like 2 months. So I planted the trees, of course, that right now are still very small. But I planted cabbages and kales and garlic and onion. Those 4 things. And I just planted them, kind of mixed, but in a pattern. And I went to Brazil and I never connected irrigation, anything, never did anything. I just let it there. Very well covered. And I planted on a good day, biodynamically speaking, and with the water and the rain. But I never watered, not even on the day that I planted. And I harvested a lot of cabbage. We did the whole chucrute for the event.
Sauerkraut.
With this cabbage, which was also had purple cabbage, green cabbage. I have 2 boxes of onions that I've been eating already. Like, they're not really big boxes, but there's a lot for 2 people. It's going to last us a couple months. So many garlics.
I made kimchi too for that event.
Yeah.
I made a big tub of kimchi.
Because you had a lot of kale too.
Yeah, well,
it's good to have a lot of things. You can do a lot of cool stuff.
So I was trying to find Napa cabbage, Chinese cabbage. It couldn't find it here in Minas. I called one place in Montevideo, and they couldn't find it there either. And I was like, wait a second, I have a whole bunch of brassicas in my garden, different kinds of kale, and this like Brazilian kale called couve.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, couve.
Couve. So I had different kinds of cabbage, these different kinds of kale. I used some broccoli leaves and cauliflower leaves, and just wanted to see how it turned out. And I sort of face-palmed myself and like, duh. The whole event was about like food sovereignty, and here I am sitting on all these other kinds of cabbage, these different kinds of kale. The thing is, the only kind of kimchi I've ever tried was with Chinese cabbage or Napa cabbage, and I'd never really tried with any other leaves, but man, it turned out great.
Oh my God, you need to do that again. Maybe plant some more. Do you have some seeds? Oh my God,
no, there's
so good.
There's so much. There's so many seeds. Yeah, I actually have to harvest seeds. They've been dry on the stalk for a while now. But well, so returning to the milpa, yeah, returning to the milpa, the 3 sisters. So planting corn, some kind of bean, some kind of squash or pumpkin alongside, like in the same hole too. So the first rule of permaculture, which I don't follow a whole lot of rules, but this is a really good one, is to conserve energy, including your own. So really starting close to your home base or your house or whatever, and then building out is really important as far as conserving your energy for taking water to things or whatever. Just so you walk less in the beginning. But even this, so planting the corn and the beans and the squash together in the same hole, you're doing a lot less work too. You don't have to bend down quite as much. You don't have to make multiple holes. And so Lorena and Renata also plant corn also in the same hole, like started with 3 and now 5. Is that right?
Yeah, just because we thought that sometimes not all germinate, especially we've been using our own corn that we grow the past 4 years. I feel like sometimes they don't germinate and we get some holes. So we decided to put 5 and then later we go and cut 2 off if needed. So,
but you're leaving 3
and we
together.
Leave 3. We leave 3 together with the other. If we have any kind of bean or any kind of zapallo,
squash,
But yeah, altogether, like Randy said, conserve energy is also it's always my priority. I always kind of think really hard before doing anything. Like, all right, how can I make this the easiest way possible? And that was a really great way to get that done.
But it serves another purpose.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot to tell about that.
The
Because
wind.
the wind, especially today, there's lots of wind. There's always wind in the summer, in the winter. The wind is very present here in the city, and maybe in all of Uruguay. And the wind would break the corn that was standing by itself because it didn't have enough strength to hold back, or especially if there was corn growing and the weight with the wind would blow it off, blow it down into the ground. I've had the first year the corn when one big wind, it all fell down, but then it didn't die. It didn't break off the soil. And so it started kind of continue to curve and point up. And I just had a bunch of corn on the floor, kind of with their head sticking up, trying to grow. But I mean, after that, after going on a trip and visiting our friend Diego that has a food forest for 10 years, he's a pro. And he started doing that too, because where he lives, he also had a problem with the wind, and he said it worked a lot. So we tried it out, and it's been like that forever. And we've been even trying with other trees, the density of things. A lot of the times that's something that is also kind of installed in us as a chip, that we need to have spaces. It's going to be too much to put them really close. Today, for example, with the araçá, the little guaxiabo fruits, if you want to plant them in like a conventional way, they would be 3 meters apart. But I planted them literally a meter apart, each one, because I had a lot of trees, and it's much better to have density and have option in the future than to spread them all out. Then a few of them die, and you have just kind of like a weaker system, you know. It's conserving your energy by directing the energy in one spot. So I planted everything I had in one bed. I didn't spread it out, although I needed to plant in other places. I decided to do it all in one, and a lot. So in a couple of years, when they start making fruit, I'm going to have a lot of guaxiabo trees, and we're going to have to figure out which ones we're going to take out, which ones we won't. We're going to have lots of fruit by then too, and we're going to be harvesting a lot of fruit until they start to bother each other. So I'm trying to break that fear of that, because I feel like it really does help the whole system. Everything's healthier when it's all diverse and it's all together. If it's spread out, I feel like the trees have more problems and more issues developing. So that's something I've been doing recently.
And like the milpa, where you've got sort of three different things, but they're not competing for nutrients. They're not competing for root space. They occupy different root zones. The trees you want to think about in the same way, both underground and above ground. You don't want to be planting a lot of trees that are medium height together. You want to be blending taller trees, emergent trees, they call in the food forestry world, medium, low, herb layer. It's all working together like you'd find in a natural forest, and densely planted like you'd find in a natural forest, and with lots of organic material on the forest floor like you'd find in a natural forest. That's what we're trying to imitate here. We're trying to accelerate a natural cycle by aggressively pruning and leaving more organic material on the ground. That would be falling naturally anyway, but again, we're trying to do it a little bit faster. I'm not a big fan of accelerating. I've come to the middle of nowhere in Uruguay, and I very much enjoy the slower pace, but it's worth it. It's worth the acceleration process. I like accelerating in this regard, but everything else I like slowing down a little bit. So the corn, the milpa, is being planted in between the trees. We got a tree like every meter, and basically there's a tree, half a meter milpa, half a meter tree, half a meter milpa.
Yeah, there's one way. That's a way.
What are other ways?
It depends, because like, for example, I have some lines that are used as like a wind barrier.
Right.
And there are trees literally, I don't know, every 30 centimeters there's a tree somehow. There's so many trees. In Diego's house, for example, in the Chuy, there was a line where he planted a eucalyptus every 10 centimeters. He planted eucalyptus. He wanted a wall.
Wow.
And it worked. Like, it was crazy. So the idea is you can do whatever you want, right? There's no rules. For this line, for example, which is a wind barrier, I have lots of trees, but what I do is I put the trees always in the middle, because then you know that in the middle there are trees there. You can't just stick a shovel in there. If I have any seeds, I can put them in the middle. I know that I can't stick a shovel in the middle. And then I plant things on the sides, on the two sides next to the to that middle there. So I can plant corn on both sides of that in any space that I want. I can plant lettuce. All those lines that are today, a lot of trees that are 2 meters high, 3 meters, they were all started with corn, with lettuce, with beets, all the food, zucchinis, all the things that we're still planting today. Tomatoes, all were planted while those trees were there. But it got to a point that with the secession that there's a lot of shade now. So now that's why I'm putting these other species that can grow underneath those trees and can stay there for a few years. But other lines, for example, where I have corn, because I want to eat the corn, I want to harvest the corn as the main goal of that space. We planted corn every 30 centimeters, 3 corns, beans, not beans, chaucha. I forgot how they call that in English. Vagem in Portuguese. I don't know.
Hold on. Chauchas are string beans or green beans or French beans for our friends in the UK.
Oh, yeah. So we planted those as the nitrogen fixer. And then we have some pumpkins. We also learned not to put pumpkins in every hole because imagine if there's a corn in every 30 centimeters. We did that one year and it was a freaking wild pumpkin ride. We couldn't even walk. It was intense. So we've spaced it out around, 2 meters, 1.5 meters, 2 meters between each pumpkin. We have one line like that. Another line that we have, we put zucchinis in between the corn. So we put the corn a little bit spaced out. We put zucchinis in between, or zapachito, which is very common kind of pumpkin here with soft shell that you can eat. Kind of like a zucchini, but in the shape of a pumpkin.
It's a little round. I've never seen it in the United States.
Yeah, in Brazil too, it's not common.
Yeah, they call it zapachito del tronco here, but it's like a little round green squash with kind of big seeds, but the seeds are also edible. It's really great roasted. It's really great in stir fry. It's really great stuffed.
You can make soup and stuff with it too.
Yeah, and I'd never tried it before coming here, and then I really liked it, and so I planted a few seeds my first year. And same thing. I had no idea that it would grow so many. Mm-hmm. And
so fast.
Yeah. I ended up overdoing it. I really liked it that first year. And then I spent 2 years not eating any because I made myself sick of it, which is such a privilege to have. But it's really, really good. I like it. And I've reintroduced it to my diet. And I didn't plant any this year, though.
No, it doesn't last long either. It's not like a potato. You have to eat it fairly quick. It depends. If you leave it to get thick, the peel... The shell, I don't know what we'll call that. If you leave it longer, it gets thicker. Like a zucchini also does that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not very, you never see it in a supermarket, but it does get like a pumpkin style. And we planted that between the corn, so we space it out a little bit more. There are some lines where we put tomatoes with the corn, so we also space it out because we needed more sun. So it depends, really. The spacing depends on what you want and what you want to get out of these beds. Up there, where we did this, like Randy said about zones, we separated, well, at least in my mind, because I like maps and I like to organize things, I made like a map of the zones where I work. So 0 would be around my house, and then 1 would be kind of a little bit farther. 2 is where we are planting the food forest now. 3 is all the way up on the new zone that we just lastly planted. And there is very, very rustic. And when the way we planted corn there, it was literally throwing seeds on the floor and seeing what happened. It was just like the flower girl in the wedding, like
throwing breadcrumbs for the pigeons in the park. Yeah,
in 1 meter. I went there the other day. One square meter, you have at least 20 corns, and that's okay because that's what we wanted. We wanted an impact. We wanted roots in the ground. So it all depends on what you want. Tá tudo liberado. It's all free. You're free to do what you wish. But it's great to be versatile, to be able to have a goal. It's important because then you know how you need to plant. If you want to plant something that needs more sun, so you have to remember not to plant something that's going to block that sun. So it's all very goal-oriented, but it works.
Yeah, and gosh, at the time when I had this excess of zapachito, I also didn't have chickens yet, didn't have pigs yet. Where any time there's an excess now, like they can go straight to those animals. And Gloria, the pig, also gave birth on New Year's Day. We have 11 little piglets. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're so cute.
God.
But
can't believe they're gonna be bacon.
Shh, not all of them.
No.
Some are gonna be ham.
I'm hot.
But they're so cute. But yeah, I'm gonna have to make the pig house bigger. Hopefully Sunday, I think Joaquin's going to come over and we're going to try and make the pig house a bit bigger because it's going to be small in a short amount of time. So, well, what else can we say? That is one thing I said we were going to get back to, pigs. We did a small experiment where we are gardening now basically in between the tree lines that are about 6 meters apart there. We had some chickens last year, some meat chickens that we used a chicken tractor and had the chickens moving around over there, eating the grass, leaving their manure, kind of fertilizing everything. A great system, worked out. It's really economic and delicious and also helps improve the soil. It's great. And then we wanted to try out with 2 of the younger pigs that were here to see if they could work like tractors. And we put them in the chicken tractor one day to have them go in with their really powerful snouts to sort of dig up the grass that's there. And there was actually a plant, macuchines, I think it's called here in Spanish, but some kind of flower that's either purple or pink, depending on the acidity of the soil, actually. But underneath the roots are a little sweet. It's got a little bit of a raw spinach flavor because it's got like lots of oxalic acid, which we shouldn't eat in excess. But it's also got some sugar, and it's. I don't want to say it's tasty, but it's not bad.
For a pig, it's tasty.
For a pig, it's delicious. And so anyway, we put them in the chicken tractor, and in less than 4 hours, they were completely done with that space. And it was really effective, too effective, actually.
That's why it didn't work out.
Yeah, so we ended up doing the rest with the rototiller afterwards and preparing the garden beds, going in with a hoe afterwards and breaking up the soil a little bit. And
they got too bored in there and they wanted to get out.
Yeah, and they didn't like being separate from their mom.
No.
So it was a great experiment, and it would be worth repeating, but under different conditions, I think. And
yeah, or with smaller pigs, because these pigs
they were also at a big uncontrollable size by that point. So if they got loose in the food, it was scary to think about. Like, if they got loose. Like,
oh my God.
They would undo so much work and so much time. Not just the work, but the time. Like
they dig
it's fast,
really easily.
Yeah,
it's crazy how a nose does that. It's not even like a knife. It's a round pig nose, and it goes in so easy,
like butter.
Sometimes I with a shovel I gotta step on it.
Yeah,
the pig goes bloop, and it flies off. I was shocked when I saw it. I just kept watching. Like I spent like a few minutes just watching them. It was insane. They're very strong. And the babies are already doing it. I don't know if you saw.
No, I didn't today. But they're so cute.
They're like
I saw
a week.
They were taking their mud baths. Super cute. But no, I haven't seen them digging anything up yet. But
they do it. They stick their noses inside. It's so cute.
Wow. So there's lots of ways to get food from your food forest, and also to get food to give to animals that you might want to use for food or other purposes. It's all about creating something that works for you, and limiting the number of things that you're bringing from the outside, both for economic purposes, but also part of what we're trying to avoid is extracting. We don't want to be taking from here and taking it to another place. We want it to be composted here. We want it to sort of complete a cycle, to close the circle as much as possible. And also just thinking about how animals can maybe be a part of that. That was part of a course that we had here in December with our same friend Diego, who came down to lead a course about food forestry and using animals holistically within the food forest, and not just as providing food for them, but using their different services, let's call them horses, sheep, cows, pigs, chickens, how they can be used together to benefit each other, to benefit us, and obviously, as I said, holistically, how we can make their lives as natural and pleasant as possible, as non-invasive as possible, letting them be out in sunlight and having freedom, not being in cages. It's really been a wonderful experience for me to learn about and be a part of, and I'm looking forward to seeing the continued transformation and for you all to be a part of it as our audience. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's wrap this up.
Gracias.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Lorena?
Nope, nothing to add. All
right. Well, in that case, thanks so much for tuning into the 3rd episode of the Planting Change podcast. Next time, we'll be getting our hands dirty in a whole new way. We're talking cob, super adobe, and the art of building with mud. Join us in 2 weeks for episode 4 to see how we're literally shaping our community center from the earth itself. Be sure to subscribe to the Planting Change podcast on your favorite podcast app, and follow our journey on social media at lasbandurrias.uy. That's with 2 R's. That's why we do the to be part of the new agricultural revolution, because change grows where you plant it. And remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on the Planting Change podcast.
Bye.